You're welcome for today's class. Today we'll be doing print making. That's what we want to learn today. So please, I need your attention as we go through the class. As you can see on the screen, the topic is print making. Print making. That's what we want to learn today. Print making. So we'll go straight to the definition of the word print making. When they say print making, what does it mean? Printmaking is the act of transferring an image from one surface to another, usually by stamping, pressing, or forcing ink onto a surface. The act of transferring an image from one surface to another, usually by stamping, either by stamping, by pressing, or by forcing ink onto a surface. It allows the creation of multiple copies of the same design. What it means is that print helps you to transfer the same image to different surfaces. It's unlike drawing. Drawing, you have to do it directly onto a surface. Painting is also the same thing. You paint onto just one surface. But in the course of printing, you can do the same image, or you can print the same image onto different surfaces. Do you get it? All right, so that is it. Unlike painting or drawing, print making focus on reproducing image repeatedly, just as I explained. It's not like painting and drawing. Print making focus on reproducing image repeatedly. And we have types of printing techniques. So we are going to jump straight into the types of printing techniques. We have different types of printing techniques. And then the first one we'll be treating is relief printing. Relief printing is done by stamping raised ink area onto a surface. Non-image area are carved away. Now let me explain that. Relief printing is just like, I don't know if you've seen stamp before. The image area, like what you want to represent on the surface, is carved and it is embossed, and then the non-image area is engraved out. Do you get it? Such that the image is raised at the surface. So just like your stamp, when you look at the top of your stamp, you can see that whatever is being engraved on it, you can see it raised than the other surface. So the other surface that is left, that is chopped off, is called the negative area. And then the positive area is where the image is. And that is what relief printing is about. So when you look at relief printing, normally all their image areas are a little bit raised than the non-image area, so that it can pick the ink, and then when it is stamped onto the surface where the surface that would be able to pick the ink is just the raised area. When you stamp it into the ink, like you press the image onto an ink, it will pick just that surface, and then when you are stamping it onto a surface, it also represents just the top, the raised area on the surface of the material you are printing on, such that the non-image area is not able to receive ink. So when you stamp, nothing appears on the paper or on the surface. I believe you understand what I mean by that. Okay. All right. We'll be having a practical class where I will show you most of these things, how they look. So let's go on. Procedure of production. 1. Draw the desired image on a block. Normally, there are materials that one can easily carve and then chop off some parts. Do you get it? So normally, sometimes they even use metal. There are some metals that they can use for relief printing, because if you are able to engrave or carve that metal, then it means automatically you can create an image on it. You get it? So 2, carve away non-image area, leaving the image area raised. This is the procedure to produce it. Are you getting it? First, you draw the desired image on a block. So let's say you can even use a soap, a flat soap. Just draw the desired image on it. When you are done, then you carve. You just engrave the ones you don't want, the parts you don't want to be printed. You carve them out of the surface. such that the image area will be left raised. Okay, so that is how it is. Then carve away the non-image area, like I just said. Leave the image areas raised. Then apply ink to the raised area and press onto a paper or fabric. Now, after carving the block or the wood or whatsoever you are able to represent your image on, you carve it, and then after that you have your image raised. You can now use that raised side of the image to pick ink. So it could be any ink. It could be poster color, it could be your normal ink used for calligraphy, it could be anything. It could even be paint. Once the block can pick the ink, then it means that it can transfer it onto another surface. So that is relief printing. So whatever type of print you notice that is done like that, then it is relief. So we have block printing, the one they use for those tie and dye and batik. That's block printing. Let me just go to the next one. Stencil printing. Stencil printing is done by forcing ink through cutout area of a surface. Only the cutout area receive the ink. Now, stencil printing is the opposite of relief printing. Are you getting it? Now, this is how it goes. The image area is rather chopped out. Like, let's say you are doing a stencil print on a paper, right? You write the text that you want to write, or maybe you draw the text. After drawing what you want, just cut out what you want to show. You cut those ones out. And then you leave the other side, the negative areas, where you don't want to show, as the, what do we call it, the non-image area. Are you getting it? So you write the text and cut out the text. If it is T, you cut out your T. If it is E, you cut your E out. And then you cut your X also out. And then your T again out. So it means that now you have the non-image area on your paper. So leaving holes inside the paper for you to be able to do your print. Are you getting it? And this is the procedure, like it is written on the screen. Let me read that one. Procedure of producing stencil printing. 1. You draw the design on a flat, cuttable surface. It could be paper, it could be cardboard, or plastic. As long as you can cut it, okay? Sorry. Cut out the image area. After drawing, you cut it out. Then place the stencil on the printing surface and apply ink over the cutout. After cutting out, now you have the design. So you just place that design onto where you want to print it. Then with a stapler or with sellotape, you hold it tight onto the surface. Then you use maybe foam or something that can help you pick ink. Then you use the ink you press the ink onto the image area that is cut out. So that when you finish and then you remove the paper, the image would print on the surface. So such printing is called what? Stencil printing. So it's more like the opposite of relief printing. Relief printing would pick the ink and then stamp. What is stamping is the image area onto the surface. But this one, the image area is rather cut out. But the other one, the image area is left there, and then the non-image area is cut out. That's a relief, okay? So don't be confused. You might be asked to explain that, then you explain easily. Now the next one is screen printing. It's almost like the stencil printing. Let's look at the definition for screen printing. Screen printing involves forcing ink through a mesh screen onto a surface. Screen printing involves forcing ink through a mesh screen onto a surface. Now I'm going to explain that before we go to the procedure. You see, with stencil printing, we have a material called mesh. It's more like a net, but the yarns are very, very tight, such that it is coated with some chemical, and when that chemical is coated on it, it is left to dry. We call it wet dry. You dry it in a dark room. And that chemical we use for the coating of the mesh is called dichromate. And this chemical is is sensible to light, right? It's very, very sensible to light, so that when light watches it or when light strikes on it, immediately it dries. So it's a photoresponsive ink, such that when light look at it, it dries. Are you getting it? Yeah, it's a photoresponsive material. Will I say material? Yes, material, but it's a chemical. So you use that chemical to rub or to paint over the mesh. Use the photochemical to paint over the mesh, and then you make sure as you are painting, you are not painting outside where there is light. You rather do it in a dark room. Then after painting it, you leave it to dry in the dark room. Then when it's dried, you now do your design onto a paper, and the design must be in black. The design must be in black over a white surface. Now the reason is that light is able to pass through white, but light is not able to pass through black, right? So now the image area is printed in black. Are you getting it? The image area is printed in what? Black. And then the non-image area becomes the white. Now this image printed on the paper is placed onto the mesh. Now the mesh, normally the mesh, for it to be stiff and stable, we create something more like a frame, and then when we create the frame, we put the mesh over it, and with stapler we are able to mount it, stretching it very tight onto the surface, so it looks more like a shifter. Are you getting it? Then after drying it and bringing it out for your image transferation, because you have to transfer the image from the paper onto the mesh, right? So now in transferring the paper, the design on the paper onto the mesh, you do that also in the dark room, because the coated mesh is not supposed to see light, right? Don't forget that. Now for the paper to be transparent, normally we use kerosene to pass over the printed paper, and then the paper becomes more like a transparent paper. I believe you know transparent paper, the one we use for tracing paper. Yeah, it's like that. So it will become like that, it will become transparent, such that when you turn the paper, you can watch through it. So now, after you are done with that, you now place that paper onto the back of your frame, the frame that has the mesh. You place the paper on it, okay, before you do the transferring of your design. And now, this is how it is done. You must make sure that in order for you to get it well, you place the paper down first, and then place the mesh onto it, and then now raise it to see how it will look. It will look inverse, right? Yeah. So for you to be sure of what you are doing, when the mesh is on it like this, when the mesh frame is on the paper, you should be seeing the design just as it's supposed to be, not flipped, okay? But when you are to turn the mesh and the paper from the back, you are to be seeing it negatively, right? So now there are two methods of producing this frame or this mesh screen, okay? There are two methods. You can either use natural light or you use artificial light. If you are to use artificial light to do the shooting, you must make sure your design is at the back of the frame, right? And then you expose it to light. So for like a minute or two, depending on the intensity of the sunlight, okay? Then you take it back into the room, your dark room, and then you remove the paper, then you wash it. Now what happens is that as you are washing the surface with water, the areas where the light was able to see, that is the white side where the light was able to wash through, will become dried. And then the areas where the black, which is the image you've designed, would be washing out, because remember, you didn't dry it on the sun, you dry it in the room, which is called wet dry. When you are washing it, will be washing off the image area, it will wash off the design, and then the frame will be left with the non-image area closed and then the image area open. When we are done with that, then you now take the frame outside to go and dry it. Are you getting it? Then by so doing, you've been able to prepare your screen. That is how you prepare the screen. Now if you want to shoot inside without using the natural light. This is how you do it. We have a developing machine, which is more like a table with a frame on it. Now this frame is more like a box, but it is covered with glass. And then inside it has these fluorescent bulbs arranged, white fluorescent bulbs. Okay? And then you need to have a small bulb, which is a colored bulb, maybe blue or red. But most preferably, we use red. We put red there. Now, this red bulb is to help you set your design before you start shooting. And that one is easier and safer, because if you are to move your frame from your dark room with a design outside to the sunlight, if you are not careful, sometimes the design might shift and then you will not get your design well. But when you are doing it inside your room with the developer, you can just nicely arrange your design on the screen, on the glass. When you arrange your design there, then you place your frame onto it. So when you know you are done arranging, then you look for sandbag, something that can give some pressure to the frame, so that the frame would be pressing the paper onto the glass, right? So that when it is there, it's not shaking. Because once you start shooting, the paper is not supposed to move. So if there is nothing holding the frame onto the paper, the frame might shake. Do you get it? All right, so you put sandbag inside. Then when you know you are set with that, then you can just switch on your white light. When you switch on the white light, you leave it for just 2 minutes. Then after that, you off it and then take off the frame like you did with the sunlight. Then you come to wash it. Do you get it? So that is how it is done. When you are asked to explain how to produce a screen for printing, this is just the procedure. Okay, so let's look at the definition again. Screen printing involves forcing ink through a mesh screen onto a surface. So the mesh screen is what I was explaining how you produce. Okay, that is a mesh screen. Okay, some people call it shooting screen, some people call it mesh screen, some people call it shooting frame. Whatever, as long as it is purposed for screen printing, then that is it. I believe you understand it. Okay, so they said this is the procedure of production. Prepare a screen and transfer the design onto it using a light sensitive emulsion. So that's a chemical, light sensitive emulsion. After coating the surface with a light sensitive emulsion, expose the screen to light in a dark room and develop the image like I explained earlier. Wash and dry the screen. You wash it and you dry it. Place the screen on a printing surface and push ink through the mesh using a squeegee. Now, this one is done after your frame is dried. When you dry it on the sun and you notice it's fully dried, now you can take it into your designing room. But before you do that, you must make sure you block all loopholes. Because sometimes when you do the screen, there are some pinholes inside. So you have to use the photo emulsion to block those pinholes. And then also the edges, you can block there with sellotape or something, making sure that every area is nicely blocked before you do your printing. And now the printing is done not by using foam, but there is a tool called squeegee. In the practical class, I will be bringing all those things and then you see them. You got to know how they are done, okay? All right, so that is that about screen printing. Let's go to the next type of printing. It is commonly used for printing t-shirt, poster, banner, and co. So most of these t-shirts you see is screen printing we use in printing them, okay? All right, so let's go to the next one, direct printing. This is more common. Direct printing is done directly from an ink textured object to a surface. An ink textured object to a surface. Procedure of production. Applying ink onto the texture surface like leaf bark, stones, or anything that is rough that has texture. Okay, any object that has some kind of texture, and then you want to transfer that texture onto a surface. You get it? So it's more like the relief now. Are you getting it? But this one is naturally having that texture or artificially having that texture. So you just use it to pick the ink and then use it to print. That's why it is called direct. You use the thing as you are seeing it. You just use the material just as it is, or the tool just as it is, to pick the ink and then you print onto the surface. Do you get it? You use the object just as it is with the texture on it to print. So let's give an example, like you use your palm, you stamp your palm into ink, and then you use your palm to stamp onto a surface. That is direct printing. Or you use your leg to stamp on a paint, and then you go and stamp onto something, any surface at all. That is direct printing. So most of the kind of printing that was done during the prehistoric era was direct printing. They did more of direct printing. They used direct hands, direct legs to do designs on the walls and all those things. So those ones are called what? Direct printing. Do you understand? All right, so let's go to the next one. Frontage printing or frontage printing. Now let's look at the definition of that one. Frontage printing is the process of rubbing or pressing over a textured surface to transfer the design onto another surface. Frontage printing is the process of rubbing or pressing over a textured surface to transfer the design onto another surface. Now, let me give you an example of frontage printing that we've been doing when we were young. You pick a coin, and then you place it inside a paper, a white paper, of course, plain paper. Use the paper to, like, you wrap the paper over the coin, and then you use your pencil and do some shading at the back, right? As you are doing the shading, the design on the coin, the relief design on the coin would appear onto this paper as you do that. That kind of printing is called what? Frontage printing. So I believe you understand that one. So that is frontage printing. It's just like the direct printing, but in this case, you place the surface, the material onto it rather, and rub the back, right? Either by shading the back or whatever means. As long as the design is appearing on the surface, then it is frontage printing. All right. Then let's look at, I think that's the end of the types of printing. I've given you about 5. The first one was what? Relief printing. The second one was stencil printing. Then the next one was screen printing. And then we came to direct printing. And then now we are on frontage printing. So these are the topics you'll be doing under print making. These are the places where they'll ask you questions on print making. So once you understand this, then it means you are ready for print making in your exams. Okay? All right. I told you this class was purpose for the NOVDEC and WAEC exams, right? So when I'm talking, I speak much about that. Now, key point about print making. Things to note in print making. Print making allows multiple reproduction of the same design. So more like importance of print making, or more like purpose of print making. In order to reproduce multiple designs, right? Now, different techniques produce unique texture and effect. That is what they are saying. They are trying to explain that among the 5 techniques I mentioned, all these techniques have their unique texture they produce, okay? They have their unique result they give when you use them. So somebody can decide that I want to use stencil printing to do a banner. Somebody too might decide that I want to use screen printing for a banner. Are you getting it? They both give different effects. All right. And then tools and surface can be simple, leaves, cardboard, or professional, lino, screen, it has different tools depending on the techniques you want to use. Okay, all right. Ink, paint, or other coloring medium are used depending on the method. Ink, paint, or other coloring medium are used depending on the method. Do you get it? Now let's go to uses of printmaking. I believe we got one at the beginning. This is one of them. It allows multiple reproduction of same design. Okay, so don't forget that. Now, printmaking is used for decoration, poster, fabric, greeting card, and whatever. Are you getting it? Printmaking also helps us to communicate. It's good for communication, like illustration and advertisement, to communicate to people, right? We can communicate to people with printmaking. Printmaking allows that because it will give you the chance to be able to produce more than just one. Let's say you do a drawing and you want to transfer it. You can get multiple copies and then you mount at different vantage points to sell your idea or to advertise or to tell somebody anything or to whatever. Are you getting it? It also helps to educate, right? You can use it for teaching, design concept, or textures. Such that if I want to teach you some textures which I don't know, I don't have at my disposal, I can just get the leaf or the back of a tree or something to get those textures, to show you different types of textures, all right? And that is achievable using what? Printmaking method. There are a lot of uses of printmaking, so you can do some research on that. But I've given you about 4. They won't ask you more than 4 in your exam though. So if you keep these ones, plus the one at the top, 5. So let's start again from definition of printmaking. Printmaking is the act of transferring an image from one surface to another. The act of transferring an image from one surface to another, usually by stamping, pressing, or forcing ink onto a surface. That is printmaking. Transferring image from one surface to another. It means the image is on one surface, but you are transferring it to other surfaces. That is printmaking. But when you are doing it directly, then you are not printmaking. You are drawing or you are painting. Are you getting it? When you are able to pick the image from a surface onto another surface, then that is printmaking. Do you get it? Okay. All right, so let's go back to the types of or the techniques in printmaking. The techniques in printmaking. And I talked about the first one as relief printing. I said relief printing is the printing done by stamping raised ink area onto a surface. The image area is raised on the surface. Like, let me use the keyboard, the typing keyboard. When you look at your keyboard, you can see that the areas where your text are written, they are raised from the board itself. That is how relief printing is. So if I'm to stamp this keyboard in an ink and use it to do a print right now, you will see that you'll be seeing just the squares, the boxes, but you won't see the whole shape. Are you getting it? So when I use that to do a print, it means I'm doing what? Relief printing. So this simply means that if I want to write a text, like let's say Kofi, I write a K-O-F-I. Now on a block, it could be a wood, it could be on a soap, any material that I can engrave, right? You write a Kofi. After writing the Kofi, chop off, like draw a line over, trace the line over each letter, right? And now the area where the Kofi, the letter K is not part, you chop those ones off, leaving the K standing on the block, right? And then you go to the O, the same thing. Chop off all the sides, the inside of the O and then the back of the O, the side. And then leave the O just standing on the relief. And then the F, which is the F, you just draw the F, or write the F, chop out whatever you don't need for the F, the letter F. I just want to be seeing the letter F on the block, right? And then you do the same thing to the O. Another way you can do relief printing is, if chopping off might not help you, you can cut out the letter, like the Kofi, Kofi. Cut them out in a 3D form, right? And then place it onto a block, glue it onto a block, so that the Kofi will be raised. And now that is what you use to do your print. Do you now get it? So the block now will be mounted in an ink to pick the ink, and then you can now transfer onto the surface. So you can just press, and then you get your Kofi. Pick ink again, go to another place, press, and then you get your Kofi. Do you get it? That is how relief printing is. Right now I'm explaining it detailed, unlike the first time. Let's go to the next one. The next one is stencil printing. Listen attentively. Stencil printing. Stencil printing is done by forcing ink through cut-out area of a surface. A cut-out area. Only the cut-out area receives the ink. Now let's say I have a paper. I write the same Kofi, right? I constructed the letter Kofi on it. I'll cut the K out of the surface of the paper, cut the O out, ensuring that as I'm cutting the O out, I have a way I'm able to hold. You see, the O will be coming out with the inside when you cut it around. So there is a way we do it such that the inside of the O is held with either a sellotape, or there's a way we cut it. When we are doing the practical, you understand. So that you can remove just the O, the letter O, and then the inside of the O will still be there, held by, maybe you leave some piece of paper at the side and side. I believe those of you who did it in class, you understand what I'm trying to say. And then you go to the F, and then you cut out the F also and take it out, and then take out the I. So now you'll be left with just a paper with a hole having Kofi cut out from it. Okay, that is stencil printing. Then you put that paper onto the surface where you want to print the name Kofi, mount it, find a way to hold it tight onto the surface. Then you use foam to pick ink. It could be paint, it could be anything, and then you stamp it onto the surface of the paper through the holes, right, where the Kofi is written. And then you remove the paper. When you remove the paper, the Kofi will be printed on the surface. That is stencil printing. Are you getting it? Now, the next type of printing is what? I'll be giving you the notes so that you can read yourself. I just want to explain it for you to get it very well. Screen printing. Screen printing is the next one. Screen printing involves forcing ink through a mesh screen onto a surface. Forcing ink through a mesh screen onto a surface. That is screen printing. Are you getting it? And that I want to explain. I've explained earlier, but I want to explain again. I said that for this kind of printing, you need a frame, a mesh frame. And now, this mesh frame is just like a net, but it is very, very close. The holes are very, very tight, okay? And it is being coated by a light sensitive material called photo emulsion. Are you getting it? You coat it with photo emulsion. And now this coating is done in a dark room, not outside, because the chemical is sensitive to light. And somebody will be asking, how then can I coat this thing in darkness? How can I see the surface of what I'm coating? Yes, it is done with minimal light. Is it that you use a red light, a red bulb, or something that is minimal, that cannot react much to the chemical, okay? Then after coating it, you dry it. You dry this frame that is being mounted with mesh at the back. You dry it inside the dark room. You can dry it with a fan. You just buy a fan. You just place it down, and then you just on your fan for it to dry it for you, right? Such drying is called wet dry. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes. Then when you come back and you notice it's dried, such that the water is no more inside, the chemical is no more inside, it's dried. Then now you can now think about how to transfer your image. Now this is one thing. the image that is being reproduced must be on a white paper, but in a black ink, right? So that if it is the same Kofi, the Kofi should be written in black, Kofi, in black, on a white surface. Now, the reason is when light watches through black, it's not able to pass through. It's more like opaque. But when light looks through white, it's more like transparent. Are you getting it? Now, this is what we do. That paper on which the Kofi has been printed would be coated with kerosene or any chemical that can help you make it transparent. The paper should be looking like a tracing paper, such that you can place the paper onto anything and you'll be seeing the thing through the paper. Are you getting it? So after printing your design onto the paper, the Kofi, it could be either by writing Kofi with your hands, right? Or sometimes if you want a perfect design, then you can do a print from a computer printer. You write the Kofi and then they print it out onto a paper for you. Then you coat it with a kerosene or turpentine or whatsoever that can help you. It could be oil. What do we call it? Any oil at all. But not something that will change the color of the paper, okay? So after coating it, now you place that thing on your mesh. The coated mesh, the one that you dried in the dark room. You place it on it, position it nicely as you want the design to be on the mesh, okay? Now you look for a way to fasten the paper onto the mesh such that the design shouldn't be shaking. Now we have two ways of shooting or transferring this image onto the mesh. We do it with light, either artificial light or natural light. You can do it with sunlight or you can do it with what? Artificial light. Now with the sunlight, when you place the design onto the mesh, you take it outside and then you expose it to light, ensuring that the paper doesn't shake on the surface. It might be on the surface where you want it to be till like 2 minutes, and then you bring it back into the dark room and then you wash it. You take the paper off and wash the mesh. Now as you are washing the mesh with water, normal water, what happens is that those areas where the black, the Kofi, where it is appearing on the mesh are soft because they couldn't receive light because of the black design, right? So now when you are washing those Kofi, that Kofi text will be washing away. It will be clearing away, okay? Then when you are done doing that, you just take the mesh outside and then you dry it. Do you get it? Or you use the other method by using a developing machine. A developing machine is more like a table which has a frame on it and then a glass covering it. Now inside that frame you have fluorescent light or any white light that can help you do your shooting, right? And then we also have another small light that helps you to set. We call it setting light. We use it for setting our design, okay? Now that light must be red or something that is not much intense. Are you getting it? Either red or let's say blue. Now the light should be something that is minimal, is soft. You only need that light to guide you in setting your paper onto the design. Sometimes you might not even need that light. If your room has some window afar off, you just open the window slightly with curtains there for you to be able to see what you are doing, and then you set it, okay? Then after you set it, this is how you set it. You place the paper first onto the screen, onto the table, right? Where the glass is, the design should be there. Now the design should be facing you just as it's printed, as if you are reading, okay? When it's there, then you place the frame onto it. Now the inside of the frame should be facing you, while the back should be on top of the paper. Then you place it nicely, and then you place sandbag or something that can help you add some weight so that the frame will be tight on the surface, okay? Then when you do that, you just leave it lightly, and then you just on your main light, the white light, for about 2 minutes. Then you remove it, and then you wash it just like we did with the sunlight. After that, then you dry the frame outside. So after washing, you will see that the coffee design is out of the screen. Then you dry it. Do you get that? So that is how screen printing is done. Then after you are done, when it's dried, now you can take your ink and then pass your ink onto the mesh, like you fetch it onto the mesh, and then with the use of screw G, the tool called screw G, it's more like a scraping tool. You use it to scrape the ink onto the surface of where the design is. You just scrub it on the surface there, and what it does is that it forces the ink through the mesh. So as you remove the frame, you see that the ink, the design will be printed just like you are seeing on my shirt, and then you can go and dry it. So that is screen printing. I believe this you can explain when they ask you to explain. With the explanations I've given in the exam hall, they might tell you explain how screen printing is done. Then you can just remember and write that. Okay? All right. They are commonly used for t-shirts, poster, banner, and the rest. And then the next one is called direct printing. Direct printing, as the word goes, it means printing directly from a design, from a surface. Are you getting it? Most times we use it for doing to steal or to pick designs from natural objects, more like leaf. You see, with every leaf have its own design, or your palm have its own design. Anything that you can see some texture and you want to pick the design directly. So this is what happens. We use the object, like we place the object into an ink, and then we pick the ink and stamp it onto the surface where you want it to be. When you do that, the ink appears there, and then you can see your design. So that is called direct printing. It is done directly from source, okay? So that is why it is called direct printing. So direct printing is done directly from an inked texture, an ink textured object to a surface. Direct printing is done directly from an ink textured object onto a surface. That is direct printing. So if you use your hand to pick ink and then you stamp it, it could be paint, it could be whatsoever, and you stamp it onto a paper, it is direct printing. As I'm saying, you can even try it with red oil. Pour red oil in a plate, place your hand inside, pick a sheet of paper, and then stamp your hand on the sheet of paper. That is direct printing. Are you getting it? All right. So let's do the next type of printing. I said I was going to give you the note so that you'll be able to read through, or as you are seeing on the screen, you can make a note from that also. Let's look at the next one, which is frontage printing. Frontage or frontage printing. Now, just as the name goes, frontage printing is a process of rubbing or pressing over a textured surface to transfer the design onto another surface. Now, with this one, the design is just like the way the direct printing is. The design is on the surface already, but you want to be able to transfer that design onto another surface. This is done by placing the surface which you want the design to come on the object directly, and then you rub the back either by the use of pencil or by any means that can help you get your design. And this is achievable when you use coins. That we have done severally when we were young. You just place the coins inside the paper, and then you shade the back of the paper, and then the design in the coin appears. That is called frontage printing. And this brings us to the end of print making. Let's go straight to uses of print making. Number one, it can be used for decoration of posters, fabrics, greeting cards, and more. T-shirts and the rest, right? It can also be used for communication, sometimes illustrations, sometimes for advertisement. Are you getting it? And then the third one, it can be used for education. It can be used to what? Teach design concepts, textures, and whatever you want to teach. When you do a print, you can use that to teach whosoever you want to teach, okay? All right. And then the last one, printmaking allows multiple reproduction of same design. So let's say you did a drawing and then you want several copies to be dispersed to people, or you want to use it for maybe a poster or something. The only way you can get them plenty is by doing what? Printmaking. So those are the uses of printmaking. Okay. The next thing we shall be doing is I'll be giving you questions as we normally do. 30 objective questions. You answer them. As you are saying, 30 objective questions. So I'll drop that in the group. Then you answer. Now this is a theory question. Define printmaking. Very simple. We've done that. Explain the main difference between relief printing and stencil printing. Outline the procedure for producing a relief print. Now I've explained that, so you should be able to do that. What is stencil printing and how is it done? This kind of questions, expect them in your WASI and your NOVDEC. They come. I quite remembered I did something on screen printing those times. I had to explain and then write whatever I knew. And then I didn't even know detail like I'm telling you now. I've given you enough you need to be able to write, okay? So I'll give you 10 of these questions, you solve them for me, and then you submit. And then now, our practical question is going to be, you do one direct printing, and then, okay, you do a direct printing using your palm, right? Just get, if you don't have paint, if you have paint, you can use paint. If you don't have paint and you have oil, you can use oil. Any means, if you have ink, you can use it. Do a direct printing of your palm and send to me. And then the other assignment is to choose one of the print method. Any one you think is easier for you, do it and then send that to me. So I need 2. The direct print is compulsory from me. And then the other one is of your choice, okay? So we'll bring this class to an end and then we'll prepare for our next class, which will be lettering and typography. That's another broad topic. I told you I'll be tackling the main topics which I know compulsorily you meet them in WASI and NOVDEC. Okay? So get ready for the next topic. It's going to be lettering. Thank you and have a great day. Please, for those of you who haven't submitted your assignment, I'm still waiting. The previous ones we did. And as you are doing the assignment, you are helping your own self. You are just getting yourself prepared for your WASI. So don't be taking the assignments for granted. One thing is when you do, it sticks in your memory. But if you don't do it, it doesn't stick. So practice it so it will stick in your memory. Have a great day. Bye-bye.